want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Hey.
That's right.
Guess what time it is, y'all?
Hey, I am Kirk M. Samuel.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Hey, you know why I'm looking down at my phone right now?
Why are you looking at your phone, sir?
Because right now we are streaming live online, and I just went to hit share. And if I can do it, anybody can do it because I went to public school.
Hey, sharing is caring, and you never know whose life you can save by sharing.
Caring. Every time you share, like, or subscribe to Mad Men of Masculinity anywhere, another man gets his wings.
Yes.
You know
wings and other things. A paycheck. Yeah. That's what we said. Paychecks.
Absolutely.
Wings and paychecks.
Tell you, man, like wings, like chicken wings. Every time you subscribe, another man gets a six count of chicken wings.
Chicken wings. What kind of sauce you like? You like the?
That's a good question, man. That's a great question. I don't know, man. Sometimes I like spicy, but it's hot going in, it's hot coming out, man.
That's what I'm saying. Like I appreciate a little bit of spice, but I was like that mango habanero. They fool you with that one because it says mango, so it's got that little sweet right up front. And then it burns you all the way through. It's like, hot lava.
I'm kind of a medium buffalo hot kind of person. Sometimes I like a little tight, spicy Thai, but
I'm traditional. I'm from the South.
I like flavor that is consistent and that is reliable.
Did you just segue?
Did you see what I did there?
I saw what you did there.
The word of the day is reliable,
kids. Boys and girls. Let's. You know what? How about we get? Hey, boys and girls. The definition of reliable is consistently good in quality or performance, able to be trusted. I'm
waving to super producer Nikki Nicole. She just stuck her head back there in the, behind the curtain. She's really like Oz. When they went to the Wizard of Oz and they had the big old head.
Never mind the girl.
Pay no attention to. She only has one color hair today behind the screen. She's no longer Skittles. Now she's like Starburst.
Yeah, Starburst comes in wrappers.
Flavor Starburst
comes in wrappers. Today she's a yellow one.
What's the yellow Starburst?
Is it lemon?
Banana or pineapple?
I think it's lemon.
Somebody look that up. Let us know in the comments. What's the yellow flavor of Starburst? Anyhow, that's what she is today. We appreciate it. Reliable, man. What do you think about reliability?
Well, I think it's great in cars. I think it's even better in people. When it comes to reliability as a person, I think it really comes down to your own inner compass and your own self-awareness personally. How about you, sir?
Well, man, I guess reliability and consistency kind of go hand in hand. And this is probably one of those where if my intuition serves me correct, we're probably going to speak a lot more on the male side of the equation. So this is one of those where, of course, ladies are going to tell, I need a reliable man. Oh, I need a reliable man. Girl, I need a reliable man. That's right. So guess what, ladies? This is one of those, I hate the phrase. What phrase I hate? I hate the phrase.
Does it go both ways?
I hate the phrase, it goes both ways. Hear that all the time. I hate that. I hate that with a passion, man. But this is one of those things that, I think we should just assume that, yes, men have kind of the same needs as women in terms of, man, it'd be nice to have something that was consistent.
Yeah, we would like some reliability as well. I mean, if you watched our couple episodes ago, I guess it was, we were talking about being a man's peace. And I think with peace comes a little bit of reliability and consistency. So we know what to expect, which we're not stupid. We know that the feminine part of the species is sometimes less than consistent. I mean, you're emotional beings. I get it. But if we can work with that and have some conversations around it and have some accountability, I think you'll have a lot more chance to have a more consistent, reliable man around.
I'd be curious what women think about this. And men, obviously. And, I'd be curious if, maybe get a comment or two during this thing here in terms of what people, why is it important to have somebody that's reliable and or consistent in your life?
Yeah, if you're watching us and go on to Facebook and go to the Mad Men Radio page, you can go right on and comment and we'll make you famous. We'll put you right on the air and then you'll be part of the show.
That's right.
We want your feedback because, he and I talk to each other all the time and we have similar but differing opinions. Most of the time they're similar, sometimes they differ. Yeah. Though when it comes to things like this, we want to make sure for all, especially all you ladies, because we did have almost 100% comments from ladies saying, yes, I want a reliable man. I want to know how that goes. Well, comment. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it, because we're here to give you the truth.
You know, one of the things you and I like to do is play golf.
We do.
And, you know, basically the foundation of a golf game is consistency.
It is.
And you know, when you're consistent, you get reliable outcomes. And so maybe that's it. Maybe when you put in the time and to get the technique to be consistent, even if they say like your golf stroke, even if predictability, like I'm going to hit this club, it's going to go this far in this direction and those sorts of things, you can formulate your game around that. You know, and so it's one of them things that I think being consistent will get you reliable results. What's super producer Nikki Nicole?
Oh, she wants to jump in because I think she's talking to boys again.
Yeah.
Because she says, because guessing games suck and getting canceled on or playing the waiting sucks.
I would agree.
I would agree too.
I mean, it does feel like a game, man. It feels like a game when it is just a guessing thing. I was just having this conversation earlier today, man. Just like, you in a relationship, it should be predictable, it should be consistent. Like, it shouldn't be a guessing game. Like, that should be the one place you can find stability in your life if you're in a healthy relationship.
You would hope so. And I think what we keep coming back to, especially when it comes to relationships and stability, is communication. And ladies, okay, trigger alert. I may challenge some of you right now. You got to stop being so nice. I was having this conversation this weekend. If somebody's bugging you, or if you're in a relationship, you got to stop being so nice and be honest. Just let them know up front, because you're doing them no favors by being nice and basically teasing them and dragging them along by the nose when they think, oh, well, she hasn't told me no yet, and she didn't say she wasn't interested, so I think I can follow her out in the parking lot and be creepy. No, do everybody a favor, just be honest. Whether it's in relationships or in dating or even just out in the world, just be like, I appreciate your attention, but I'm not interested.
So is clarity, are you saying that clarity and reliability are one and the same?
I think they are maybe not one and the same, but they're definitely, two pieces of the same puzzle. I mean, if you want to be reliable, you need to have some clarity and some honesty in your relationships, in your communication. Because, I mean, when we look at the definition of reliable being a person who is trustworthy, what is a trustworthy trait, or who is trustworthy without honesty? And looking at, especially for a reliable man, this is a man who knows his purpose, knows his worth, and will say yes and no. And that's one of the things I think we want to talk about, especially to our female audience, is that a reliable man may not be what you think he is.
So I think there's an overlap. I'm hearing an overlap. I'm hearing an overlap between reliability, consistency, transparency, and I think there's another word that hasn't come up yet, but it's in that mix, and that's trust.
Yeah. Well, that's trustworthy. That's what it said. Even in the definition, was a trustworthy person. Yeah. How can you become trustworthy without being honest and being consistent with your word and your deeds?
Yeah. And that whole reliability thing, man, and just, I mean, there's so many unknowns in a day. And I think when we interact with one another, whether we're talking about relationships in any kind of capacity, quite honestly, even if it's, just platonic friendships, even if it's just your boys, speaking from a guy perspective, just that level of, just straightforwardness, man. And it's like, I don't always need to hear yes, but if I can know that your yes is yes and your no is no, then to me, we cool. I mean, and I can trust your word. And I think from a man perspective, that should be part of the equation, is being able to trust somebody's word in their yes and yes, and there's no.
Yeah, I mean, even back to the point I was making with the ladies before, for the guys, like, if it's not a Hales yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
So let's as men be more upfront and reliable with our words, and quit following the nice guy syndrome so much and going, whatever you want, I'll do it, whatever it is. And then later on going, I can't do all that. Just be upfront and honest. Be like, I will do what I can up to this point.
And I think, it has to be outside of somebody else's, I'm going to say somebody else's influence. What I mean by that is, I don't need somebody else to be something in order for me to be consistent and reliable and whatever. Like, I don't need somebody else to perform to a certain level before I do it, kind of thing. Like, we need to be willing to, I'm going to do my thing regardless of what's happening behind me or in front of me or outside of my control.
Yeah, that brings up a good question for guys and you ladies out there watching. Do you do the same things when you're being watched as you do when you're not being watched?
Most people probably not.
Probably not.
Most people probably not.
I know sometimes I fall into the opposite where I'm more likely to be rebellious when people are watching versus when nobody's watching. I do do the right thing. I return my shopping cart.
Yeah.
I'm a good human being most of the time.
And that whole thing when nobody's looking, that's integrity. That's integrity. And I think one of the things missing in our culture today is personal integrity, integrity of your word, integrity of your being, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, when nobody's watching, do you do the same thing as when everybody's watching? Because these days, folks, might have an online or a public persona, which I kind of get that from a PR perspective, right? All right, when you got a screen in your face, and you put the filters and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah. Should your life be really filtered? Like, is that integrity? Is that, is that consistency? Like, are you reliable when your life is filtered? And I think a lot of our lives are filtered these days.
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to what is it that you take, responsibility for yourself, or you take pride in for yourself, and are you doing those little things when nobody's looking and not needing a reward? I think that's where a lot of times the personal integrity comes in, because you're doing something just because it makes you feel good and because you believe it's right to do. Because I know everybody has different opinions and different priorities, but doing things like returning your shopping cart, or pushing a seat in, or just allowing somebody into traffic because we're all going the same direction kind of thing. Like, these are little things that I think a lot of times people get upset because they don't get a reward. It's like, well, you're helping yourself as much as them. It's reciprocal. It's synchronistic. So can you do those things without getting applauded for it and getting kudos all the time?
It's like folks are doing things to get likes and love. Like that's our main currency. It feels like their motivation and all that kind of stuff. And full disclosure, yeah, we want subscriptions. We want likes and love. We love to share this message. We want to have these conversations on a broader level, broader platform to more people. Yeah. So when it comes down to it, yes, subscribes, likes, shares, all that kind of stuff helps us to have this conversation on a broader scope, and for what we believe that would kind of help culture. But when we live in a culture where individually everything we do is just for the likes and the loves and all that kind of stuff and the validation, that's not really healthy, man. That's not really healthy at all. But what is healthy, what would be healthy right now?
We're gonna take a break.
What would be healthy right now, at least for the state of the show.
I guess we have to pay some bills, y'all. We're adults. We're reliable men. We're paying bills.
Let's take a break, man. Let's take a pause for the cause. And then when we come back, Monica's chiming in. You go, girl. Yep. Monica, we're about to make you famous.
We're going to talk to you.
About to make you famous. Right when we come back, we'll be right back. Do I hear voices in there?
You do hear voices in there. There are people out there. So for those of you watching for the first time, we're doing our live radio version. So this is our behind-the-scenes break action that you get to see only on Facebook Live and YouTube.
Yeah, this is the hour version. So we're in the studio right now. If you're watching the behind the scenes, over his shoulder, we're across the table. Over his shoulder is the production side of the house. On the other side of the glass, Nikki is jumping in and out. But there's something playing.
So much noise. She got the door open.
Does she? Yeah. But I hear voices, man. I normally hear voices. That's different.
Well, the one I've been trying to get that one to sing or something because it's not been very helpful.
Yeah, not at all.
Boom. Silly voices.
All right, you ready to rock and roll?
Yep, I'll bring it back. And we're back. Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC, 1220 AM in the Mile High City. And today, boys and girls, we're talking about reliability.
The word of the day is reliability.
Reliable. Are you reliable? Are you
reliable? Reliability. Can I get that in a sentence? Can I get that? And can you conjugate that word for me?
I do not feel very confident in your reliable spelling skills.
Hey, man, I'm hooked on phonics, man. I went to public school, but I graduated. Hey, let's make Monica.
Hey, Monica, I saw you wrote that book on there. We're going to throw it up here.
Oh, my goodness, man. Hey, you're going to read that one, man.
All right. So Monica says, very easy. A reliable person, a man or a woman, does what they promised, and if they absolutely can't, they offer a different solution. Consistency or consistently delivers the same message. You can count on me. Honest, integrity, don't lie. Yeah. That basically, in a nutshell, that's a reliable person.
How many people do we know like that? How many people in your circle are like that? I mean, it's rhetorical. You mean you universal. Whomever, ask yourself that question. How many people in my circle are like that?
If you're trying to ask me, I didn't want to have to count on air.
No, but at the same time, maybe we should pursue people like that. Maybe we should look to surround ourselves with people that would fit that kind of definition.
Yeah, I think we need more no's in our lives, because people who will tell you no are more reliable people, because they're being honest, because they'll say, I would like to, however, no, I cannot right now, or because I have this going on. And those are people you can probably are much more trustworthy. You don't want the yes man. The yes man's just kissing your behind and want a brown nose to make you feel good, but he's not being honest and therefore not being reliable.
Yeah. And in a relationship, I mean, no woman wants a yes man. I mean,
she might think she does.
She might think she does. I mean, there are some unhealthy women that want a man that is docile and that, she can tell what to do. But in reality, that's going to get old for her really quickly. And she's going to lose respect. And then she's going to break up with you. And you'll know it way after she broke up with you.
Yeah.
In her mind, she'll break up with you because she's lost respect for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, in that case, she's probably already got her side guy and the next.
He's moved on, and you ain't find out.
You're still in the house, and she's already moved out. You didn't even know.
You might find out weeks or months later that the relationship was over a long time ago. It might be Labor Day, and their relationship was over at Memorial Day, and you just found out.
Yeah, you talk about, for us guys, most of the time we get surprised because we think, things just happen all at once. No. For the ladies, they plan it out.
So stuff happens with them
way before we even have any idea.
So being a yes man doesn't serve you any purpose in the area of your personal relationship, whether in whatever romantic capacity, particularly in the context of a male, female, masculine, feminine. Speaking of, I think masculinity provides structure to the feminine chaos, right? And so for us as men to be reliable, then we are that constant sounding board for the and I'm using the word strategically, for the chaos that's inside of the female mind and spirit. Where, I mean, women can kind of the feminine. I'm going to say women. The feminine can just kind of be emotionally all over the place, mentally all over the place. It's hard for a lot of women to think about some things when and so for us to provide structure and to be stable and to just be there. No matter what the ups and downs, no matter when the hormones are going, no matter when, life is challenging and all that kind of stuff, kids acting crazy and all this other kind of stuff. When we as guys can just be there and be consistent and be reliable, man, that is a value, that is a trait that a good woman will recognize.
Yeah, and even back to being able to say no. I think for a lot of guys, we've been so indoctrinated into this yes man, nice guy syndrome that, and you hear a lot of times where you hear a lot of these ladies going, I just want a man who will put me in my place, who will tell me no, who will tell me I'm being cray cray, or to stop me from going overboard. And that's part of that saying no. A reliable man has his boundaries. He knows where his set points are. I mean, for a personal example, I helped out with an event. I helped set up and do the registry table for an event this weekend or this past weekend. And I said I would be there I'm available from noon to maybe 9. And that's a nice long work day for anybody.
It's a long day.
So by about 8:30, 8:45, I'm like, I'm out. And they were very happy for my help. Even one lady said I was very reliable and trustworthy. She gave me her car keys once. I didn't even go take it for a joyride or nothing.
I would have did a Ferris Bueller on that bad boy.
But it was a nice Audi.
Would have came back with an extra 3,000 miles on that joint.
The Lambo or the McLaren at the event, but they wouldn't let me near that for some reason.
This was a nice car.
I don't wonder why they didn't think I was reliable with that one.
I don't know.
They didn't know me that well.
But to your point, man, you got to be willing to say no when the answer is no. When they ask you for your opinion, you got to be willing to say your opinion, even if it's not popular. And to that point, my mindset is, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be straightforward with you, even if it's not popular, even if it's not the pretty answer. If I don't like those shoes, I'm gonna say I don't like those shoes. I don't like. I mean, if you ask me anyway, if you want my opinion, and if it contradicts kind of what would be the easy way, I'm gonna say that, because at the same time, if you know that I'll say it when it's not popular, then when I tell you I love you, or when I tell you I'm gonna be there, or I'm gonna do something, when I tell you otherwise, you can believe it, because you know that I'm a reliable person when it comes to a reliable man in the context of this relationship, when it comes to what my opinion is or doing what I say I'm gonna do.
You better believe it. Yeah, and that comes from that inner integrity of being able, like, I'm solid within myself enough to be able to be honest with you. And I think we've had so many nice guys and this kind of feminine narrative of yes man and all these different things that I think a lot of times the ladies are getting mistrustful of men because they have lost the, I don't want to say spine or backbone, but something to that effect, where they're not able just to say, this is it, yes or no, and mean it, and be honest and trustworthy with their word and their actions. Not even just their word, but word and action. If you say you're going to be somewhere, even if there's traffic, you can call and renegotiate. You just say, hey, I'm on my way, there's traffic. But at least you're updating, and you're being accountable to your word. I think that's one of the things that a lot of people have on both sides have lost today, is this lack of accountability on their word. They just think, well, I can change my mind.
You can't be a pleaser and be reliable. You can't be a people pleaser and be reliable. I mean, reliable / consistent / integrity, whatever you want to call it. Like, you can't be a people pleasing kind of person. Like, the two just don't go hand in hand. And you got to be willing to, like I said, own your yeses and own your nos, and just let that be that. And you got to have boundaries, because in order to own your yes and your no, you got to be willing to to say no. You got to be willing, like you did. Okay, it's time. I said I would be here this time, and now it's time to go. Like, I'm not. It's not my fault or my problem if this thing runs long or whatever. I said this, and I was here, and now I got to go.
Well, and to that example and that point, when I said I was leaving, there was no blowback at all. They're like, "Thank you for your help." So, and I think a lot of times we fall into this yes man kind of mentality where we're afraid to hold boundaries. And yeah, when you initially, especially when the people, you've been a yes man for a while, and all the people around you are just used to using you blindly and knowing that no matter what they say, you'll do it and bend over backwards for them. When you start to say no and start setting boundaries to them, there's probably gonna be some pushback, like, oh, you're being selfish. Oh, really? I'm being selfish? You want me to do something for you, and I'm being selfish.
When I was struggling with addiction, I was the consummate yes man. Part of that was out of shame. Part of that was just out of guilt, whatever you want to call it. But I just, I had this low sense of self-value or worth, whatever you want to call it. And so I just wanted to prove myself. And I just wanted to prove myself in the context of, I just wanted to be liked. And so I just, I wanted to make people laugh. I was the funniest guy in the room. I was whatever. I was always there serving and all this other kind of stuff. But I was miserable because my motivations were right. I was doing it to be liked, not because I wanted to do it. And thereby, my integrity was off in that whole thing. And so I think, you can't be a people pleaser and still at the same time be reliable and consistent.
And I think it's a good distinction to make too, is that to be a reliable man in this world, you can consistently please people, and you'll be surprised that sometimes your no will please them just as much as your yes, because they can trust it. When you're doing nothing but saying yes, and then hem hawing later on because you didn't really mean it, because you were afraid to hurt somebody's feelings or be honest, saying no sometimes is the easiest thing. And we always make up these stories. You have these stories in your head of, oh, I'm gonna hurt their feelings, or they're not gonna like me, or maybe this is something important, or even though immediately what the answer is that you can't do it and you want to say no, just say no. You're gonna save them and yourself a whole lot of time and heartache, because they can just move on. You can say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. They can move on and find somebody else who can. So being able to just set little boundaries and be honest and just be like, no. Even like Kirk said, although guys, be careful how you word it, but if you don't like the dress or the shoes, you can say, I don't like the dress or the shoes. Your girl, you know how best to say it, but be honest.
Well, the fact is, don't ask me for my opinion if you don't want my opinion. If you want my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. I mean, and I'm okay with giving you my opinion. And it's up to you next time whether you want to know my opinion. If you want to hear me say your shoes are fantastic, if you want to hear me say, yes, buy those red bottom shoes for $700 or whatever, $2,000, whatever. If you want to hear me say, whatever you want to hear me say, then just look at me and say, can you tell me that this is or whatever. But if you want my opinion, I'm gonna give you my opinion. If you don't want my opinion, then don't ask me.
Remember, make sure truth goes both ways. So ask for what you want. Don't give us the usual, I'm going to ask you what I think, or I ask you what you think and then expect you to say what I want you to say. Because if you ask what I think, you're going to get what I think.
And I think you'll get respect when you do that. Yeah. I mean, I think that's another word that in the word cloud of this whole conversation. I think you get respect when people know that you're consistent and reliable, when they can trust you, but then when also they can trust your word. I mean, I think that's something that speaks about you. You know, that person, you know, that person is there. If nothing else, they're consistent in their consistency.
Yeah, I mean, and guys, you get the tests all the time, and the reason you're getting tests is because they want to know if you will say no. Because basically, in their mind, they're going, well, if he doesn't say no to me, then how is he going to say no to somebody else who comes on to him or is flirting with him or whatever? So can you say no? Can you say no to your girl and make her feel trustworthy and safe and feel that you're reliable and you won't go running off with the next girl because you're just a yes man?
Ooh, that sounds like an after break kind of thing right there, man. Because that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep right there, man. That is really deep.
Sir.
How about you want to take a break?
I think we should take a break.
A little break here. We'll take a break. We are the Men of Masculinity. We are on KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City and on the digital webs everywhere. We're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Break 1 9. We'll be right back.
Breaker.
I'm gonna go smack her in her head if she leaves that door open and sits out there having a whole conversation again.
You know we can hear you.
I need to take a drink.
Take a drink of some man juice. Body armor. Man juice.
As Kirk was saying, what were you saying? This is pre-sweat?
This is
man
sweat. The pre-edition. You put this in, man sweat comes out. Good old man sweat.
Sometimes I wonder how they let us get on the air with the stuff we talk about.
We need to call Body Armor. Who owns Body Armor? Is that the one 50 Cent owned?
No, he owned
somebody famous owns Body Armor.
Water.
Are you sure?
Like that.
I think that might be Body Armor.
No, because you remember he came out with that 50. It was
I don't know.
Water
man. Who owns Body Armor?
Figure it out because we got to call him. We need some sponsorship.
We need something.
Hey, if y'all know who owns Body Armor super drink beverage, let us know because we need some sponsorship.
All at us.
Sponsor deals.
Body Armor.
Y'all ready to come back? No, he's busy looking up stuff.
Kobe Bryant invested.
He invested.
As one of his.
So
it's owned by Coca-Cola, but
is it? Of course it is.
Yeah.
Now I'm less than excited about it.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, man.
All right, boom.
Anyway, let's go back.
Yeah, we back.
That's right. We're back on KLDC.
Men of Masculinity. You know how we do. If you don't know, now you know. You better know. 1220 AM in the Mile High City. You know what I'm saying? We're on the digitwebs everywhere. Like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, man. Help us have this conversation. Don't cost you nothing to hit subscribe. Don't cost you nothing to share. It don't cost you nothing to like it. Man, just hit,
come on, whack-a-mole that like and subscribe button.
Will Smith that name, man. Just walk up there and just what did the 5 fingers say to the subscribe button? Slap.
Oh my God.
Put some baby powder on that hand and smack that subscribe button.
Get my pit hand going.
For real. Holla at your boys. Talking about reliability today.
Reliable men.
Are you a reliable
man?
Are you reliable, man?
You know when you're reliable, man.
You know, and so, what we talked about right before the break is, you brought up the whole idea of if you are consistent, reliable, trustworthy, all these things that we, integrity, all these words that have come into the word salad, the word cloud for today, then maybe in the context of relationship, it also comes across as you are faithful. Another word, because if you're reliable, if you're faithful, if you're consistent, if you're honest, integrity, all that kind of stuff in the area of your relationship, maybe to her subconscious, it also says, man, this guy, this man, my man is reliable in the jungle out there. That's other women.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to, does she feel safe with you as a man? Are you providing that safety and security? Now there's the physical safety, which all of us, men, we need to be those protectors and be able to provide physical safety. But the security, which is that emotional, mental security, can you tell her no? Can she trust you to be able to tell her no and make her feel safe that when you go out into the world, you can tell other women no? Because if you're just a yes man in the relationship and all she hears is yes from you, and every time she tests you, you're just like, well, what do you think? What do you want? And you have no spine, no opinion of your own. She doesn't feel like you're trustworthy or reliable. How can she trust you when you go out in the world? And some other ladies like, oh, why don't you do this for me, honey? Nah. You got to be able to have a little backbone, a little stability to yourself and your own opinion and your own integrity when your girl's not around, or so that she can feel safe to go he can go out in the world with his boys and have a good time. I don't have to worry because I know he's reliable and trustworthy.
Yeah, if you don't have structure, if you don't provide structure, if you're not structure, I mean, if you're a wet noodle, then then when you get out there in the world, you have no spine. Like you have no, there's nothing integral. Is that a word? Integral? I don't know.
Integral's a good word.
Something that's a spin-off of integrity. There's nothing about you that speaks that. So when you get in the office and somebody starts to flirt, or when you hit the gym and somebody's looking at you, or grocery store, or when you go to Target, Target.
Target is, yeah.
You better be ready when you go to Target, fellas. But when you go there, can you be consistent there? Can you be trustworthy there? Can you be a man of structure and a man of substance in those places where it requires that?
Yeah, and it just comes back to your own personal integrity. Do you have enough self-awareness and self-worth to know what your value is, so that you don't just throw that away to, any lady or anything out in the world that is conspiring to get your attention? Can you say no to those things? Because I think nowadays there's so many yes people and yes men and nice people and all this stuff, pushing, especially at us guys, saying you need to be a certain way, and for us to be able to be like, no, this is how I am, this is who I am, this is what I believe in. And in doing so and saying no, you provide more of a foundation to be more trustworthy and to be seen as more reliable and have more integrity.
Hey, do you think a man is seen as less reliable when he's late?
I would think so. I mean, of course, it depends on the situation. I mean, some guys you can rely on them to be late. That's their reliability.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's one way to say it.
But I mean, no, I think, and this is one of the things that we joke about, because being both former military, it's like, early is on time and on time is late. Mm-hmm. So we're always early, and that's something we can be relied on. And I mean, it even comes out like, I know I'm going to be too early, and I still show up early just because that's who I am.
Yeah, and that is, I think that is something that is an attribute in the military of, and you got to think it's the right context, because if we are in a high stress situation, if we're in a life or death situation, all those kinds of things, I need to be able to trust you with my life. And that comes down to some very simple things, some very simple kind of things in life. And I think that is one of the things that, from a military perspective, is kind of beat into you of, definitely, if nothing else, like, you don't show up late, and you show up with what you need to do whatever it is. And that builds trust of, okay, I got your 6, you got my 6.
Yeah, that even reminds me of another kind of analogy, that it's not the big things that you do. It's not the big acts. It's not these big grand acts that we do as men that generate trust and make people feel that they can rely on us. It's the little consistent things over time, which, I mean, if you've done any sort of goal setting, you realize that that's how everything is. It's the little consistent things you do day to day that creates your habits, that creates your pathway to your goals, and also creates trust and reliability of the people around you. They know they can trust you because they know that day to day you're doing the little things, by being honest, by being on time, by being a man of your word, that will make you seem reliable and trustworthy and a man of integrity.
So if a man has an outright addiction, is that considered unreliable?
I guess it depends on the addiction, because I see a lot of high functioning addicts, and I've been one myself. So I don't know that that's necessarily, but I think it definitely leads to unreliability, because the further you get into that addiction, the more it takes control of your life. So I would say in the long run, yes.
And then, I mean, I just thought about the question out of the blue, but, as I think about it, it's like, what are you seeking? Like, what's your priority? Because I think reliabilities, show up in your priorities in terms of, you have rent or mortgage to pay. And so, for most people, you have a job. And that job contributes to the provision of the finances that you need for your life. I say all that to say that you show up to your job, and that's part of your priorities. If you are not even able to show up at your job, then that could go into the whole, the lateness, the promptness, but that could also go into somebody that struggles with some kind of addiction, that hampers their life. It's like, man, I can't even count on you to show up to the work site on time or to the office on time because you somewhere zooted out under the bridge,
Yeah. I always think that it's a slippery slope, because I know most of us, especially when we were in the military or in our 20s or college, whatever, it was almost a challenge. Like, how zooted and how drunk can I get and still make it to work the next day. Of course, granted, as we get older, it becomes harder and harder. So sometimes I think there's an amount of age related integrity and trustworthiness that comes because we just get too old to be like, I can't do it.
No,
I can't stay out that late. I can't drink that much and still make it the next day. So now, because of my lack of recovery ability, I'm going to say no.
Although, I'm part of, affiliated, associated with a local, addiction recovery ministry here in town. And
shout out Step 7.
Shout out Step 7. And it's tough because, so let's say there's sober living homes, right? And you got a guy living in a sober living home and there's other people counting on you to be sober as part of their sobriety in the sober living home. And to be reliable, and if it's a case where you pay rent or whatever it is, to basically hold up your end of the deal. And so the reliability comes into, okay, I'm counting on you for what I need for my life, kind of thing. And so, when those guys have struggles like that, you end up letting down not only yourself, but all these people around you in terms of their life and maybe even their walk through sobriety and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I think we talk so much about men needing men, iron sharpens iron. It's in situations like that, especially when you're healing from addiction, when you're coming into recovery from whatever has been a challenge in your life, having those men as that accountability in your life to create reliability. Because we will, especially as men, and I'm not even going to say just as men, just as people in general in the world, we always do better when there's somebody else for us to do that we're thinking about just beyond ourselves. Because for some reason, most of us, especially in the U.S., have adopted this I'm less than mentality. And so it sometimes takes others around us to bring out the best in ourselves. And because we have those we need to be reliable for, it brings out the best in us. So doing something like Step 7 or even like a Mile High Sober Living Community, shout out to Bryce Hancock who runs that. These are avenues that if you're feeling unreliable or if you're feeling less than because of an addiction or something you're struggling with, there are avenues, and you can, the reliability, the trustworthiness, the integrity is still within you. It just may take some others to help you find that, dig that out, get that back out again.
And you build bonds of brotherhood, bonds of brotherhood just in your consistency and your reliability that go way beyond just the surface of friendship. I think friendship, when you add reliability and consistency, becomes brotherhood. When a guy asks you to help him move.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, and you show up. Actually, I was thinking of the two of us helping somebody else.
Oh, you're talking about Brad.
But that too. But yeah, I mean, I forgot about me. I wasn't actually. But when when somebody needs you and you say yes, and again, that's back to owning your yes and owning your no. If you can, yes. If you can't, no. But when you say that and then you do show up, that builds kind of a deeper level of trust and a deeper level of connection. And like I said, I think that builds a level of brotherhood that you can't get in a land of inconsistency. You can't get that in Flakeville. Yeah. It just doesn't happen. Brotherhood anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if we're just we'll go down that road for a minute. Just everybody think to your friends list and the people you know, and you know that every one of those people, you can rely on them for something. Now, it might not be reliability. It might not be trustworthiness, but you can rely on them maybe to be late all the time. You can rely on them to lie to you. I mean, you can rely on them to be there for you. Like, who your friends are and what their capabilities are. And, we all know who we can rely on.
Yeah. And then that list and that list that rolls through your head, man, that's the ones you call on when you need something. Everybody else is just an acquaintance. And and maybe a diet version of a friend, but in terms of the depth part of it, the people that I choose to kind of want to live with and live amongst, I think the older I get, the more I value just the people that are there, the people that show up, and the people that consistently show up, and the people that do consistent things, whether it's in their work, whether it's in like a personal thing, a ministry, or relationship, an organization, or especially leaders and that kind of stuff, man. If you're not reliable, if you're not consistent, then you're also not effective.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we were talking about as you mature and get older as a man. you tend to become more selective.
Mm-hmm.
And so your friends group may narrow down and become fewer, but it's more quality over quantity. So, and speaking of quality over quantity, I think it's time to take a pause for the call.
Let's take a quality break.
Quality break. We need some quality
Not a potty
assurance.
break. We're taking a quality break.
Quality assurance in here.
Quality over quantity. Mad Men of Masculinity. We'll be right back.
She still got that door open. I'm gonna smack her in there in Skittles' head. Going on this crazy madhouse. We're working in a circus, people.
Can't work under these conditions. Let me drink some more pre-man sweat.
Pre-man sweat. I don't. That doesn't give me the right visuals for my drinking. So what do y'all think? We only got Nikki and Monica talking to us. Let's see how it is. What happened to our number one fan? The original number one fan. What's going on?
No comment.
Shyness.
Let's
see what's happening.
Boom. All right, segment 4.
All right, we're in the fourth quarter, people's fourth
quarter.
Let me
get another sip of the nectar of the gods. That's good stuff. That's good stuff right there.
All right, count me in, coach. I could have been contender.
Hey, radio folks, we are back. Radio podcast, folks. Mad Men of Masculinity, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City, KLDC, and on the interwebs everywhere. YouTube, Facebook.
That's right.
Podcast
go to
platforms.
YouTube and search Mad Men of Masculinity. Go to Facebook, go to Mad Men Radio. Hey, and go to madmenradio.com. Check us out. And by the way, for those of you who like the content, who are looking for some advertisement possibilities, guess what? We have those opportunities for you. I'll let you boys go to Mad Men Radio and send us an email.
We're talking about reliability today.
We're your reliable source of healthy masculinity.
We are your reliable source of healthy masculinity.
Here every week for y'all, twice a week.
This is one of those challenging topics, man, where we are kind of calling each other up to a higher level as men. Where we are like reaching out. It's not, this is one of those, I like to say sometimes we give it sugar, sometimes it's medicine. And sometimes we got sugar so you can take the medicine. Right. This is one of those medicine kind of topics where, when we as men get better, then everybody around us, everything around us gets better. And so the whole area of reliability, man, and us being reliable, do what we're saying we're going to do for our kids, do what we're saying we're going to do for the significant other, spouse in our life, do what we say we're going to do in work and whatever your endeavors are in your community, but specifically also to other guys and with other guys. Being consistent and reliable with other guys, showing up when you have an opportunity to show up.
Yeah, to get to the point of how we affect the world, when you look at the one consistent factor on young men going to jail, on young ladies not having a great life, maybe going to dance or, having drug problems or addiction problems, stuff like that, the one consistent factor is a lack of healthy masculine influence, a lack of a father figure in the home. And so as we are wading through the waters of this war on masculinity and having to deal with things like, it's toxic masculinity and it's the patriarchy and things like that. Well, when you look at the results of what a lack of healthy masculine influence does in the home, we can very confidently say that a healthy masculine man is the tide that raises all ships because of that influence. There's much more healthy children, much more healthy relationships, much more healthy families, much more healthy villages, communities, and towns. And so, guys, it's not all on our shoulders, but it's definitely a big load. Is half on our shoulders to be healthy, reliable, trustworthy men.
So this is one of those where a lot of things we can say. Okay, women make it hard to be this or difficult to be that, and challenging in relationships, all this other kind of stuff. This is one of those things that, absent of everything else, in the vacuum of all the other outside influences, this is something on a personal level every man can work on and do to be the best that he can be for everything and everybody around him, to be more just consistent in everything he does. In sports, man, it's about consistency. Any high achieving, high functioning person in any area is consistent. And again, I take sports, for example. How consistent are you at getting on base in baseball? How consistent are you at your free throw percentage or a field goal kicker or whatever in football? Whatever it is, if we want to take ourselves individually and collectively up to the next level, our consistency on an individual basis can change the game for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know a lot of you think we may be blowing hot air, but guess what? The hot air raises the balloon. So we're blowing up that hot air balloon and talking to you guys and talking to you ladies about what it means to be a reliable man, because number one, we want to be reliable men ourselves. So the more we teach it, the more we say it, the more it's reminded to us that we need to be in integrity. We need to have those boundaries. We need to be a man of our words. And as well, the more we say these things, the more we remind our men around us, our group and our squad, the more they hold us accountable.
I see a knucklehead over your shoulder with a cowboy hat on, and that's Jamie Daniel from the Corner Cafe team out there. That knucklehead, man.
Shout out to Corner Cafe, our next door neighbors, our sisters show.
I love Rachel.
She's all right. I don't know about that.
I love Rachel.
Jamie,
Rachel, man. Commanders, whatever, man. Cowboy season is already over. Anyhow,
did they win though?
Let's not talk about that. That's old stuff.
I think both
probably gonna lose next week.
Denver and Dallas won yesterday, so I mean, why?
But being consistent, man. Let's not talk about football. Let's not talk about Washington Commanders. Being consistent. Oh, let's make Amy famous.
Oh yeah.
Wow, you got to read that one. Go on, Amy.
Amy says, "Hey guys, it's definitely the little things. They build who you are as a person, healthy mentally. It's how we build our village, especially as a single parent. Love when I know exactly what other people want or need. I can't fix it. What I don't know is broken. Being held accountable is in healthy ways." Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I think? I'm reminded, even of what she said and what Monica said. By the way, thank you, lady, for interacting with us, man. By far, to be totally honest and transparent, most of the direct interaction we get are from the ladies out there. And so we appreciate you. And quite honestly, we're so passionate about healthy masculinity because we want to make men better for the ladies around us. And so we thank you, ladies, and we do listen to you. We do hear from you, and we do appreciate you and value you. And like I said, we believe that when men get better, so will your lives. You'll be safer. You'll be more fulfilled. You'll be all those kinds of good things. But one thing that just brings to mind is even in your and my interaction, like I said, one of the things that we plan a lot of things, together. We plan a lot of things separately and those sorts of things. But for the most part, I think we got a pretty good rhythm of yes, I can, or no, I can't, whether it's golf or whether it's whatever it is. And I think that helps build, like I said, a bond of just connection, brotherhood, if for the long-term journey of at least guys walking together. And I personally think it also helps us in our external lives as well, with men and women in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you get a good group of guys around you as a man that you can say no to, that you can say yes to, that you can have conversations with, it builds trust. It's those little things, and during those conversations where you know that if you ask a guy something, he says no, it's not personal. He just can't do it, and then you can trust his word more and more. And so in those interactions, when you have that group of guys, especially when they're all looking to better themselves, they're all looking to level up and next level everything, and you're a part of that crew, you will naturally learn to build a natural set of boundaries, do those little things, and be more honest with not only everyone else in your life, but yourself. Yeah. Number one, being honest with yourself and knowing what is valuable to you and honoring what is valuable to you and not giving those things away just because somebody wants your attention and wants your energy. That will generate a lot more trust and a lot more reliability as people see you being trustworthy and reliable, and even as you see yourself, because you know that you're not just going to be swayed by whatever wave comes by or whatever the wind blows or whoever asks you for something. You can say no.
And as much as we have room to grow, I got room. When I say we, I'm talking about you and me.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people kind of in the talking head space. A lot of people with podcast platforms and those sorts of things. That
there's other people like us.
There are other people, but different though.
I thought we were
because I feel like with us, like we don't have too many guests hardly on here, because I think a lot of the conversations and a lot of topics we have is just us talking about the way that we aspire to be and the way that we hope other men collectively, not that we are the absolute example, but topics anyway that we hope other men can aspire to be, and we try to live these things out. And so a lot of our conversations, a lot of people say, oh, let me if you ever need a guest or else, we kind of had we're kind of good. But it's about living these things out and modeling these things, and I feel like we've learned a lot of things that hopefully we can pass on in terms of perspective of guys becoming everything that guys could be, especially in this area of reliability.
Yeah, I mean, this is us fulfilling our passion and doing this work is us trying to better ourselves. And so at no point will you hear us say we're perfect and that we live this out 100% and everything we talk about is, oh yeah, I do that and I'm all about that. We're attempting to get there and knowing that we're on that journey, because one of the wisdoms I learned a long time ago was that if you want to perfect something, teach it. And so we're doing our best because, it's like any teacher. If you're a wisdom teacher or a true student, or you're somebody out there trying to uplift the world, if you're teaching what it is you want to live, guess who's at every class? Guess who's there all the time? You. Oh. So you get to hear all of these things consistently. And that's what we're doing. Yeah. We want to be the best we can be, and we want to bring as many guys with us and ladies. We want to help the world to become a healthier place for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, some of these things are universal concepts, and this is kind of one of them. I mean, obviously, we're speaking it, we're speaking on it from a guy point of view, and so unashamedly, we're pro man in terms of here's the perspective that we're talking about. But this is like a universal concept in terms of people, and as I talk to women, I know women wish other women would be more reliable and not so flaky and all these other things. Single people wish that other single people would be more reliable and not flaky, and just even like Nicole was talking about earlier, just ghosting and just unreliable. Are you going to show up or not? If you're not going to show up, just say you're not going to show up. And so some of these are universal topics. I feel like this is one of them, even though we're speaking at it primarily from a male point of view.
Yeah, but even though we're speaking at it from a male point of view, it is a universal topic, and because we are men and we can say that we've been men our whole lives.
Not everybody can say
that. Just because we're coming at it from a pro-male point of view, because we are men, doesn't mean we're anti-feminine or femininity. Now, we may make jokes about some of the toxic femininity and some of the things we see, but that's what we deal with. That's what we see. It doesn't mean we're anti the other side. We're actually pro-healthy femininity as well. We're pro-healthy families. We're pro-healthy men. We're pro-healthy society. And we're starting with the man in the mirror. Thank you, Michael.
And again, I feel like, we said it before, we'll say it again. When men get better, women get better too. Kids get better too. And so to have these kind of conversations, again, though it might be a universal kind of thing. And as we bring this plane in for a landing, I think it is a universal kind of thing. And I think from a culture perspective, we can all become more reliable in our words and our actions, the way we interact with one another, doing the things we say we're going to do, showing up when we say we're going to show up. Dating, all these other kind of things. I think, the world would just be a better place.
Yeah. I mean, even looking at the 4 agreements, and one of the agreements was being impeccable with your word. Your word is how people relate to you. It's what you give out into the world. It is your own representation of yourself. And so if you're not going to be impeccable with your word and be in integrity with your word and be honest and trustworthy, how can you expect anybody else to think of you the same way?
Yeah. And I mean, guys, let our yes be yes and let our no be no. If you're not interested in a woman, tell her you're not interested in it. I mean,
if you're only interested in one thing,
if you only want to knock boots, say you want to knock boots. Not saying that's preferred or whatever, but just be honest. Let us start off the reliability, let us start all that off. Let us start a trend of, I'm just going to be real. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be reliable. I'm going to be consistent. My yes is going to be my yes, and my no is going to be my no, and let that be it.
Yeah, let's start a reliability challenge for the rest of this coming up week. Yeah. Be as impeccable with your word as you can be, and see how that improves the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Men of Masculinity, we love all y'all. Holler at us on social media. Comment. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, get on YouTube and Men of Masculinity. Like, subscribe, and share. And guess what? We'll be right back next week.
Mad Men out.
Peace.